Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a fun video. I'm going to be rating every single concealer that I own, that I have ever owned, that I've owned and gotten rid of, every concealer that I've ever tried, so that you don't have to waste your time. If you have the same type of issues as me, you can just pick what you want from this video and go and get it. I'm gonna try to split this into sections, like concealers that I currently have, concealers that I threw away because I disliked it so much, and then concealers that I used up and did not repurchase. So if you guys want to see what concealers I have been loving and which concealers I have been hating, let's go ahead and get started. If you guys like this eye look, stay tuned because there will be a tutorial on it very soon. So let's start off with all of the concealers that I own currently. I have about, I think, 7 different concealers. They're all different colors, different consistencies, different brands. So let's get into it. I love concealers. I think that it is one of my staple makeup products. I have bags, I have discoloration, and I have fine lines. So my concealer has to do a lot when it comes to performance. So I dabble in a lot of different concealers, from the low-end drugstore brands to the really expensive high-ends. And I feel like I have a very good idea of what is a good concealer and what isn't because I have tried so many. I'm gonna go from least expensive to most expensive. I literally have it like all written down. The first one I'm gonna start off with is this Wet n Wild Mega Last Incognito All Day Concealer. This is $4.29 from Target. It's very inexpensive. I have this in the shade medium neutral. This is the wrong shade for me, which is why I don't use it as much as I should. It is a very good concealer. This has a very large applicator, as you can see. I'll swatch it here for you. It's a very thin concealer, and for the price point, it does a lot. It covers up my discoloration and it really blends right into the skin. I don't feel like this cakes at all. It does, however, settle into my fine lines. Why am I holding this up? It doesn't dry the underneath of my eyes out like some others will. The shade range is not great. Like, I'm looking at the website right now and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 6 different shades, which is totally not enough. I think that if this had more options, different colors, different undertones, that this could be a really good concealer. I definitely would recommend it more if it did, but if you can find a shade that fits your skin tone, I definitely recommend checking it out. The next concealer that I'm going to talk about is an e.l.f. concealer. This is the famous e.l.f. 16-hour Camo Concealer. I wish that I could tell you what shade I have this in, but like either the sticker came off or it's rubbed off because I've had this for so long. Let me go ahead and swatch it for you. It has a very thick doe foot applicator. This one's a lot lighter than the Wet n Wild one. This is a very good concealer. This was really popular back in the day for a good reason. It is $7 and it does so much. It covers like you would not believe. It doesn't make sense that it's a drugstore concealer. I know that they also have a hydrating version of this concealer too, which they came out with a little bit after they came out with this concealer. The shade range for this is a lot better than the Mega Last Incognito Wet n Wild concealer. There's a lot more shades and there's a lot more undertones, which is great because that means it's a lot more accessible to other people. It does settle into fine lines, but not as badly as some other concealers would, and it is very thick. It's a very thick concealer, so if you are someone who likes a little bit more of a clean girl look or like a no makeup look, I don't know if I'd recommend this. The one thing that I will say about this concealer is that it is very drying and it is very reminiscent to me of the Tarte Shape Tape, where my eyes feel a little bit dehydrated after I use this concealer, and when I'm taking pictures I feel like it really accentuates my bags. Even in like natural sunlight I feel like it'll do the same thing. So if you are someone like me who struggles with bags, I don't know if I'd recommend this, but it is a good concealer. The next one on my list is also a drugstore concealer. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Concealer. I have this in the shade 360 Cashmere. Let me go ahead and swatch this for you. This has a scent to it, which I feel like I must mention because I am someone who hates when anything that I put on my face has a scent. I just don't understand why. I'm terrible at this, by the way. That is what it looks like. It is a very thin consistency and it does cover a lot even though it is very thin. I think it is even lighter than that e.l.f. concealer right there. But again, I feel like this is a concealer that really accentuates my bags. I don't know what it is. I don't know if maybe I have the wrong shade, but I feel like there's just something about it that I don't really love. I don't know if it's the scent. It is a little bit more expensive for a drugstore concealer. It is $12 at Target, which I think is a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a concealer. The one thing that I will say about this Infallible concealer is that it does have a very wide variety of shades. If you're a little more lighter than me or if you're darker than me, I think that you will be able to find a match. They have a lot of different undertones and a lot of different shades, which is great because that means, again, it is a lot more accessible to everyone. If you are looking for a concealer that you can run to Target and get that is going to be thin and will cover up discoloration under your eyes, I definitely recommend this. If you are having pictures taken or gonna be somewhere where pictures are taken, I don't really recommend this. If you have bags, because it will accentuate those bags. And why does it have a scent? I don't understand. Like, it's a perfumey scent. Why? Why would I feel like for some people it could really irritate your eyes. If you're putting something very close to your eyes, it shouldn't have a scent to it. So that is all the drugstore concealers that I own. I'm not someone who goes out and buys more than they need. I feel like 3 is a very good number. We're now going to be talking about more high-end concealers that you might have to purchase from Sephora or Ulta. This is the Rare Beauty Liquid Touch Brightening Concealer in the shade 17W. This is $19 from Sephora, which is kind of inexpensive for Sephora. There's a lot more expensive ones I'm going to talk about. I do not love this concealer. I wish that I did, but I don't love it. As you can see, it is a lot lighter than the other concealers that I have because I bought this online and bought the wrong color. I wanted to love this concealer so bad. Everyone talked about it and everyone had such good things to say about it. For me, it just didn't perform the way that I needed it to perform. It really didn't cover up anything. It definitely brightened up my under eyes and the center of my face, which is what I like to do, before I contour. But I feel like it really just didn't cover any discoloration. It didn't really accentuate my bags at all, but the main focus for concealer for me is to cover up the giant purple discoloration that I have under my eyes. I also think that there are a lot more inexpensive options that'll do the same thing. If you are someone who doesn't have a lot of stuff going on underneath your eyes, or if you are someone who wants a separate concealer to kind of highlight the center of your face, definitely recommend this. For me, it just wasn't there. But as much as I don't like the way that this covers my bags, I will say that Selena did a great job with undertones and shade range. I think that there's a lot of options when it comes to this concealer, and I think that's why so many people like it. You can find one that works for you, and again, the more shades that you have, the more accessible it's going to be and the more people are going to want to buy it. I keep this mainly because I use it to brighten up other concealers, like this WetnWild one. It was too dark for me, so I used this to lighten it up a bit more because I know it's not going to ruin like the integrity of that concealer. It's just going to add a little bit of brightness to it. So I don't think I'll purchase this again. If you're someone, like I said, who likes a more natural look or someone who doesn't have anything to cover up, definitely check it out. Okay, so the next one that I have, I'm actually wearing right now. This is the Tarte Ultra Creamy Shape Tape Concealer. I hated the way this concealer looked on me today. I don't know if it was because of the foundation that I used. I don't know if it's because they redid the formula. I don't know what it is. Let me go ahead and swatch it for you. It is probably the lightest concealer that I own, and that is because, again, I did this online. Like, I ordered this online and I ordered it wrong. This is just the mini one from Ulta that I bought because I didn't really want to fully commit and buy a whole brand new one. I mean, a whole full-size one. This concealer did not cover anything. I don't know who this is targeted for. I think I went in 3 times and packed 3 layers of this concealer on, and it didn't build up and it didn't get weird, but it didn't cover anything. As you can see with all these studio lights too, my bags are accentuated. I feel like I look way more tired than I actually am. When I took it down the center of the face, it definitely helped to brighten things up, but it was there, but it wasn't, is the only way I can put it. Like, it was there, but it didn't do what it had to do. I think for the price that you're paying, this is a $30 concealer, and I feel like at that price point, you should be doing everything. You should be covering, nourishing my under eye, you should be not accentuating my bags, you should be doing everything. And this concealer just did not it did not work with me. If you don't have any discoloration and if you don't have any bags under your eyes, maybe you would like it, but I don't know. I will say that the shade range is pretty good for this concealer. There are a lot of options, a lot of different undertones, and again, a lot of different shades, which really every one of these concealers should have. There should be no reason as to why you don't have the lightest light and the darkest dark and then everything in between. There's just no reason anymore in this day and age to not have that. I know that in the past they have been very limited on their shades, so maybe they're trying to get better with it. I don't really know, but I don't really recommend this concealer. Next up is my holy grail of all concealers. This is the best concealer I have ever tried in my entire life, and I keep trying other concealers thinking that they're going to be as good as this one, and they never are. You can probably guess what it is because I use it all the time. This is the Lancome Concealer Ultra Wear All Over Concealer. This is the best concealer I have ever tried out. It does not accentuate my bags, it does not settle into my fine lines, and it covers up everything. I don't know what is in here, but Lancome done did it with this concealer. Let me go ahead and swatch it. Like I said, this is in the shade 215. Okay, that was a terrible swatch. Why did I do This one is a lot more neutral, which I feel like works with a lot more of my foundations that I use. This melts right into your skin. I recommend going in with your finger to blend this out because it really gives an effortless look and covers everything. It is $29 from Ulta or Sephora. It is expensive, but let me tell you, I've had this for a while. You do not need a lot. This is 100% worth the investment. In pictures, my skin looks amazing. It blends right into the foundation, so it doesn't look like this, like a stark differentiation between concealer and foundation. The shade range is not great. They do have a bunch of different undertones, but I feel like the shade range could be a lot better. If you can find a concealer that is the right shade for you, I 100% suggest picking it up and trying it out. It is a fantastic concealer, not only for your under eyes, but to spot treat all over your face, and it feels like you're not wearing anything. So 100% recommend. The last one that I have is one that I have mixed feelings on. This is the Hourglass Vanish Airbrush Concealer in the shade Sepia, and I'm gonna go ahead and swatch it for you. That is what it looks like. It's a lot lighter than the Lancome one. I didn't realize how much of an array of concealers I had, like when it came to shades and undertones. This concealer is $36, and I do not think that it is worth $36. It did cover up all of my discoloration, but it was so thick. I don't know if you can tell with the swatch, but it's such a thick concealer that I feel like my eyes were suffocating is the only way I can describe it. It didn't break me out or anything, but it was a very thick and heavy concealer, and because of that it accentuated my bags a lot, so in pictures I would look a lot older. It didn't break me out, like I said. It did settle into my fine lines because it was so thick, and it did blend into a lot of my foundations really well, so I will give it that. The shade range is decent. There's a lot of different shades and a lot of different undertones, but I feel like there could be more. I feel like that's the case with anything. Any of these concealers. You know, the shade range might be great, might be trash, but with both of those options, there could always be more. I don't really recommend this one. I don't think it is worth trying out. I can't think of a person that this would be good for because I feel like it just accentuates everything bad underneath your eyes. Even down the center of your face, I feel like it really accentuates pores and wrinkles and things like that. I have to blot because I'm so freaking oily. So that is all for the concealers that I currently own. If I had to recommend one high-end and one drugstore, I would definitely recommend the Lancome one as the high-end and the e.l.f. one as the more drugstore and affordable end. I think they're really great concealers, and I think they're worth checking out. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to concealers that I owned but never repurchased. I only have two on this list just because if I didn't like it, I threw it out. Simple as that. So the first one that I have is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Concealer. I think I never repurchased this because I couldn't find it anywhere. It was a really good concealer, but I didn't know where to pick it up. I used to be able to get it at Ulta, but then I went there and it wasn't there anymore. It is a very good middle of the road concealer. It's not too thick, it's not too thin, it's not too cakey, but it's also not too no makeup look. It's a very middle of the road concealer that I feel like a lot of people would like. I didn't repurchase it, like I said, because I couldn't find it. And then the second one was the original Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. I used that one like for years, and then once I ran out, I just never repurchased it. I think I was just like heavily influenced by like 2018 YouTubers to buy that concealer, because once I finished the bottle, I was kind of sort of like, why did I buy this? Why did I use this? It would leave the underneath of my eyes so dry when I would take it off, and it was like so thick, and it really accentuated my bags. I don't know why that concealer had us all in a chokehold. Once I threw it away, I was like, damn, that was really not good, and it was expensive. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to pay the amount of money that it's worth to buy it again. To be honest, like, this is a pretty good dupe of it, this e.l.f. concealer. I feel like you can spend a fraction of the money on a different concealer. So the final section of this video is concealers that I threw away immediately. Like right after the first time that I used them. The first one is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer. I was not a fan of this concealer. There is a pretty big shade range, so I know a lot of people liked it because it was very accessible. For me, it was just like, it didn't cover anything. I feel like I put it on and I was like, what is this supposed to do? It didn't accentuate my bags because there was nothing really on my face, but it did settle into fine lines. If you're someone who doesn't have a lot of bags, if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of discoloration, that concealer might be good for you. I know that it is very inexpensive. It just wasn't for me. Wasn't for me. I have, like I said, a lot of expectations for a concealer, and it did not perform the way that I needed it to. Now, the next concealer on my list I think is going to be a little controversial because I know a lot of people like this concealer. It is the Too Faced Born This Way concealer. I'm sorry, but that concealer was so bad. I want to give it a 0. But I can't. It was so bad. I remember the first time I tried it out, I was so excited because I heard so many good things about it, and I knew so many people on YouTube who use it religiously. But when I put it on, it was so cakey and it looked so bad. I was like, did I get like a reject one? I tried it with a different foundation the next day and it still looked so bad, I threw it right in the trash. And it was $30. $30. I don't know if maybe it was just my skin. Maybe I'm expecting too much out of a concealer, but that one was real bad. The last one that I want to talk about is a more affordable concealer that I wasn't really expecting a lot out of, but I heard that it was a great dupe for the Tarte Shape Tape, and that is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer. I was excited because I love the Conceal and Define foundation, but the concealer was not good. And it was definitely not a dupe for the Tarte Shape Tape because it didn't cover anything. I remember thinking like, am I putting enough on? Because this isn't covering anything. It also really did a lot of creasing. I really just didn't like it. That one I felt a little less guilty about throwing out because it was like $7 or something like that, I think. It was not for me. I don't know if it was my skin that it didn't work with, because I know a lot of people have used that concealer before, but oh, it did not look good on me. So that is my list of all the concealers that I have loved, currently love, or will never love. I hope that you guys all enjoyed. I hope that this offered a bit of insight on what your next concealer purchase is going to be. If you guys like these kinds of videos, let me know. I would love to rate, my different powders that I have, my different bronzers that I have. If you have not already, make sure that you are subscribed and that you hit the little bell so that you can always be notified for when I put out a new video. If you like the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, as it greatly helps me out and I always appreciate it. Let me know what your guys' favorite concealer is. I think I know what my next concealer purchase is going to be because I'm a bit of a concealer hoarder. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next one.